Into the Wild is a 2007 American biographical adventure drama film written, co-produced, and directed by Sean Penn. It is an adaptation of the 1996 non-fiction book of the same name written by John Krakauer and tells the story of Christopher McCandless, a man who hiked across North America into the Alaskan wilderness in the early 1990s. The film stars Emile Hirsch as McCandless and Marcia Gay Harden and William Hurt as his parents. It also features Jenna Malone, Catherine Keener, Brian Dierker, Vince Vaughn, Kristen Stewart, and Hal Holbrook. The Truman Show is a 1998 American science fiction comedy drama film directed by Peter Weir, produced by Scott Rudin, Andrew Niccol, Edward S. Feldman, and Adam Schroeder, and written by Niccol. The film stars Jim Carrey as Truman Burbank, who grew up living an ordinary life that, unbeknown to him, takes place on a large set populated by actors for a television show about him, until he discovers the truth and decides to escape. Additional roles are performed by Laura Linney, Noah Emmerich, Natasha McElhone, Holland Taylor, Ed Harris, Paul Giamatti, and Brian Della. Crash is a 2004 American drama film produced, directed, and co-written by Paul Haggis. The film features racial and social tensions in Los Angeles. A self-described passion piece for Haggis, Crash was inspired by a real-life incident in which his Porsche was carjacked in 1991 outside a video store on Wilshire Boulevard. The film features an ensemble cast, including Sandra Bullock, Don Cheadle, Matt Dillon, Jennifer Esposito, William Fichtner, Brandon Fraser, Terrence Howard, Chris Ludacris Bridges, Thandie Newton, Michael Pena, and Ryan Philippe. The Shawshank Redemption is a 1994 American drama film written and directed by Frank Darabont, based on the 1982 Stephen King novella Rita Hayworth and Shawshank Redemption. It tells the story of banker Andy Dufresne, Tim Robbins, who is sentenced to life in Shawshank State Penitentiary for the murders of his wife and her lover, despite his claims of innocence. Over the following 2 decades, he befriends a fellow prisoner, contraband smuggler Ellis Red Redding, Morgan Freeman, and becomes instrumental in a money laundering operation led by the prison warden Samuel Norton, Bob Gunton. William Sadler, Clancy Brown, Gil Bellows, and James Whitmore appear in supporting roles. Waking Life is a 2001 American experimental philosophical adult animated docu-fiction film written and directed by Richard Linklater. The film explores a wide range of philosophical issues, including the nature of reality, dreams and lucid dreams, consciousness, the meaning of life, free will, and existentialism. It is centered on a young man who wanders through a succession of dreamlike realities wherein he encounters a series of individuals who engage in insightful philosophical discussions. Wild is a 2014 American biographical adventure drama film directed by Jean-Marc Vallée. The screenplay by Nick Hornby is based on Cheryl Strayed's 2012 memoir Wild, From Lost to Found on the Pacific Crest Trail. The film stars Reese Witherspoon as Strayed, alongside Laura Dern, as Strayed's mother, with Thomas Sadoski, Mikhail Heisman, and Gabby Hoffman. Pay It Forward is a 2000 American drama film directed by Mimi Leder. The film is based loosely on the novel of the same name by Catherine Ryan Hyde. It is set in Las Vegas, and it chronicles 11-year-old Trevor McKinney's launch of a goodwill movement known as Pay It Forward. It stars Haley Joel Osment as Trevor, Helen Hunt as his alcoholic single mother Arlene McKinney, and Kevin Spacey as his physically and emotionally scarred social studies teacher Eugene C. Minette. Dead Poets Society is a 1989 American teen drama film directed by Peter Weir, written by Tom Schulman, and starring Robin Williams. Set in 1959 at the fictional elite conservative Vermont boarding school Welton Academy, it tells the story of an English teacher who inspires his students through his teaching of poetry. Life is Beautiful is a 1997 Italian comedy-drama film directed by and starring Roberto Benigni, who co-wrote the film with Vincenzo Cerami. Benigni plays Guido Orefice, a Jewish-Italian bookshop owner, who employs his fertile imagination to shield his son from the horrors of internment in a Nazi concentration camp. The film was partially inspired by the book In the End, I Beat Hitler by Rubino Romeo Samani and by Benigni's father, who spent 2 years in a German labor camp during World War II. Fight Club is a 1999 American film directed by David Fincher and starring Brad Pitt, Edward Norton, and Helena Bonham Carter. It is based on the 1996 novel of the same name by Chuck Palahniuk. Norton plays the unnamed narrator, who is discontented with his white-collar job. He forms a fight club with soap salesman Tyler Durden, Pitt, and becomes embroiled in a relationship with him and a destitute woman, Marla Singer, Bonham Carter. Sunshine of the Spotless Mind is a 2004 American science fiction romantic drama film written by Charlie Kaufman and directed by Michelle Godwin. It follows an estranged couple who have erased each other from their memories. Pierre Bismuth created the story and called it. The ensemble cast includes Jim Carrey, Kate Winslet, Kirsten Dunst, Mark Ruffalo, Elijah Wood, and Tom Wilkinson. The title of the film is a quotation from the 1717 poem Word by Alexander Pope. Neustadter and Michael H. Webb, and produced by Mark Waters. The film stars Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Zooey Deschanel, and employs a non-linear narrative structure, with a story based upon its male protagonist and his memories of a failed relationship. Seven Years in Tibet is a 1997 American biographical war drama film based on the 1952 book of the same name written by Austrian mountaineer Heinrich Harrer on his experiences in Tibet between 1939 and 1951 during World War II, the interim period, and the Chinese People's Liberation Army's invasion of Tibet in 1950. Directed by Jean-Jacques Annaud and starring Brad Pitt and David Thewlis, the score was composed by John Williams and features cellist Yo-Yo Ma. Life of Pi is a 2012 adventure drama film based on Jan Martel's 2001 novel of the same name. Directed by Ai Lee, the film's adapted screenplay was written by David McGee, and it stars Suraj Sharma, Irfan Khan, Rafe Spall, Tabu, Adil Hussain, and Gerard Depardieu. The storyline revolves around an Indian man named Pai Patel, telling a novelist about his life story, and how at 16 he survives a shipwreck and is adrift in the Pacific Ocean on a lifeboat with a Bengal tiger. Thank You for Smoking is a 2005 American satirical black comedy film written and directed by Jason Reitman and starring Aaron Eckhart, based on the 1994 satirical novel of the same name by Christopher Buckley. It follows the efforts of Big Tobacco's chief spokesman, Nick Naylor, who lobbies on behalf of cigarettes using heavy spin tactics while also trying to remain a role model for his 12-year-old son. Maria Bello, Adam Brody, Sam Elliott, Katie Holmes, Rob Lowe, William H. Macy, J. K. Simmons, and Robert Duvall appear in supporting roles. The Kings of Summer is a 2013 American independent coming-of-age comedy drama film directed by Jordan Vogt Roberts and starring Nick Robinson, Moises Arias, Gabriel Basso, and Nick Offerman. The film premiered under its original title Toys House on January 19, 2013, at the Sundance Film Festival and was released by CBS Films in a limited release on May 31, 2013. About Time is a 2013 British romantic comedy drama film written and directed by Richard Curtis, and starring Domhnall Gleeson, Rachel McAdams and Bill Nighy. The film is about a young man with the ability to time travel who tries to change his past in hopes of improving his future. The film was released in the United Kingdom on September 4, 2013. The film received mixed reviews from critics. At the box office, it grossed $87.1 million against a $12 million budget. As Good as It Gets is a 1997 American romantic comedy film directed by James L. Brooks, who co-wrote it with Mark Andrews. The film stars Jack Nicholson as a misanthropic and obsessive-compulsive novelist, Helen Hunt as a single mother with a chronically ill son, and Greg Kinnear as a homosexual artist. The paintings were created for the film by New York artist Billy Sullivan. Babe is a 1995 comedy drama film directed by Chris Noonan, produced by George Miller, written by both, narrated by Roscoe Lee Brown, and starring James Cromwell and Magda Sabansky with the voices of Christine Cavanaugh, Miriam Margolyes, Hugo Weaving, and Danny Mann. It is an adaptation of Dick Kingsmith's 1983 novel The Sheep Pig, also known as Babe, the Gallant Pig in the U.S., which tells the story of a pig raised as livestock who wants to do the work of a sheepdog. The main animal characters are played by a combination of real and animatronic pigs and border collies. Big is a 1988 American fantasy comedy drama film directed by Penny Marshall, and stars Tom Hanks as adult Josh Baskin, a young boy who makes a wish to be big and is then aged to adulthood overnight. The film also stars Elizabeth Perkins, David Moscow as young Josh, John Hurd, and Robert Loggia, and was written by Gary Ross and Ann Spielberg. It was produced by Gracie Films and distributed by 20th Century Fox. Bohemian Rhapsody is a 2018 biographical drama film about Freddie Mercury, the lead singer of the British rock band Queen. It was directed by Bryan Singer from a screenplay by Anthony McCartan, and produced by Graham King and Queen manager Jim Beach. It stars Rami Malek as Mercury, with Lucy Boynton, Willem Lee, Ben Hardy, Joe Mazzello, Aidan Gillen, Tom Hollander, Alan Leach, and Mike Myers in supporting roles. Brian Banks is a 2018 American biographical drama film directed by Tom Shadyac, written by Doug Atchison, and starring Aldous Hodge as Brian Banks, a high school football linebacker who was falsely accused of rape and upon his release attempted to fulfill his dream of making the National Football League. The film premiered at the LA Film Festival in September 2018, and was theatrically released in the United States on August 9, 2019. Bruce Almighty is a 2003 American religious comedy film directed by Tom Shadyac and written by Steve Coren, Mark O'Keefe and Steve O'Kirk. The film stars Jim Carrey as Bruce Nolan, a down-on-his-luck TV reporter who complains to God, played by Morgan Freeman, that he is not doing his job correctly, and is offered the chance to try being God himself for 1 week. It co-stars Jennifer Aniston, Lisa Ann Walter, Philip Baker Hall, and Steve Carell. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang is a 1968 musical adventure fantasy film, directed by Ken Hughes with a screenplay co-written by Roald Dahl and Hughes, loosely based on Ian Fleming's novel Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, The Magical Car, 1964. The film stars Dick Van Dyke, Sally Ann Howes, Adrian Hall, Heather Ripley, Lionel Jeffries, James Robertson Justice, Robert Helpman, and Gert Fruba. Creed 2 is a 2018 American sports drama film directed by Stephen Caple Jr. and written by Sylvester Stallone and Jewel Taylor from a story by Sacha Penn and Cheo Hodari Coker. A sequel to 2015's Creed and the eighth installment in the Rocky film series, it stars Michael B. Jordan, Stallone, Tessa Thompson, Dolph Lundgren, Florian Munteanu, Wood Harris, and Felicia Rashad. The film follows a fight over 33 years in the making, as Adonis Creed meets a new adversary in the ring, Victor Drago, son of Ivan Drago, the powerful athlete who took the life of Donnie's father Apollo Creed in 1985's Rocky IV. The Diving Bell and the Butterfly is a 2007 French biographical drama film directed by Julien Schnabel and written by Ronald Harwood. Based on Jean-Dominique Bauby's 1997 memoir of the same name, the film depicts Bauby's life after suffering a massive stroke that left him with a condition known as locked-in syndrome. Bauby is played by Mathieu Mallory. Emma is a 2020 British comedy drama film directed by Autumn de Wilde, from a screenplay by Eleanor Catton, based on Jane Austen's 1815 novel of the same name. Its story follows Emma Woodhouse, a young woman who interferes in the love lives of her friends. It stars Anya Taylor-Joy, Johnny Flynn, Josh O'Connor, Callum Turner, Mia Goth, Miranda Hart, and Bill Nye. Far From Home, The Adventures of Yellow Dog is a 1995 adventure film starring Jesse Bradford and directed by Philip Borsos, which was his final film. The film is about Angus, a teenager, adopts a stray dog and names him Yellow. During a trip, Angus and Yellow get trapped in the wilderness and struggle to survive, while his parents seek help of rescue teams. Ferris Bueller's Day Off is a 1986 American teen comedy film written, co-produced, and directed by John Hughes, and co-produced by Tom Jacobson. The film stars Matthew Broderick as Ferris Bueller, a high school slacker who skips school for a day in Chicago, with Mia Sara and Alan Ruck. Ferris regularly breaks the fourth wall to explain his techniques and inner thoughts. Fighting with My Family is a 2019 biographical sports comedy drama film written and directed by Stephen Merchant. Based on the 2012 documentary The Wrestlers, Fighting with My Family by Max Fisher, it depicts the career of English professional wrestler Paige as she makes her way up WWE, while also following her brother Zack Zodiac, as he struggles with his failure to achieve similar success. Florence Pugh and Jack Lowden stars Paige and Zodiac respectively, alongside Lena Headey, Nick Frost, Vince Vaughn, and Dwayne Johnson, with the latter also acting as producer. Free Solo is a 2018 American documentary film directed by Elizabeth Chibachashvili and Jimmy Chin that profiles rock climber Alex Honnold on his quest to perform a free solo climb of El Capitan in June 2017. The film premiered at the Telluride Film Festival on August 31, 2018, and also screened at the 2018 Toronto International Film Festival, where it won the People's Choice Award in the Documentaries category. Free Willy is a 1993 American family drama film, directed by Simon Windsor, produced by Lauren Schuler Donner and Jenny Lou Tugend, written by Keith A. Walker and Corey Blackman from a story by Walker and distributed by Warner Brothers under the Warner Brothers Family Entertainment label. The film stars Jason James Richter as Jesse, a foster boy who befriends a captive orca named Willy. Good Will Hunting is a 1997 American drama film directed by Gus Van Sant, and starring Robin Williams, Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Minnie Driver, and Stellan Skarsgård. Written by Affleck and Damon, the film follows 20-year-old South Boston janitor Will Hunting, an unrecognized genius who, as part of a deferred prosecution agreement after assaulting a police officer, becomes a client of a therapist and studies advanced mathematics with a renowned professor. Through his therapy sessions, Will reevaluates his relationships with his best friend, his girlfriend, and himself, facing the significant task of confronting his past and thinking about his future. Groundhog Day is a 1993 American fantasy comedy film directed by Harold Ramis and written by Ramis and Danny Rubin. It stars Bill Murray, Andie MacDowell, and Chris Elliott. Murray portrays Phil Connors, a cynical TV weatherman covering an annual Groundhog Day event in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, who becomes trapped in a time loop forcing him to relive February 2nd repeatedly. The film also stars Stephen Tobolowsky, Brian Doyle Murray, Marita Garrity, Angela Payton, Rick Ducommun, Rick Overton, and Robin Duke. Hairspray is a 2007 musical romantic comedy film based on the 2002 Broadway musical of the same name, which in turn was based on John Waters' 1988 comedy film of the same name. The film was a British-American venture. The 2007 film version of Hairspray was directed and choreographed by Adam Shankman and has an ensemble cast including John Travolta, Michelle Pfeiffer, Christopher Walken, Amanda Bynes, James Marsden, Queen Latifah, Brittany Snow, Zac Efron, Elijah Kelly, Allison Janney, and Nikki Blonsky in her feature film debut. Set in 1962 Baltimore, Maryland, the film follows the pleasantly plump teenager Tracy Turnblad as she pursues stardom as a dancer on a local TV dance show and rallies against racial segregation. Homeward Bound, The Incredible Journey is a 1993 American adventure comedy film and a remake of the 1963 film The Incredible Journey, which was based on the 1961 novel of the same name by Sheila Burnford. Directed by Duane Dunham. 3 pets are left behind while their owners go on a holiday. Thinking they have been abandoned, the pets embark on a journey to California to be reunited with them. This film is dedicated to producer Franklin R. Levy, who died during production of the film. Hope Floats is a 1998 American drama film directed by Forrest Whitaker and starring Sandra Bullock, Harry Connick Jr., and Jana Rollins. The film, written by Stephen Rogers, stars Birdie Bullock as an unassuming housewife whose life is disrupted when her husband, Michael Pare, reveals his infidelity to her on a Ricki Lake-style talk show. She and her young daughter Bernice go back home to her mother, Rollins, and the small town in which she grew up, where everyone knows of her televised marital collapse. Meanwhile, she meets an old friend of hers, Justin Connick Jr., instantly sparking a romance. While Justin's intentions are clear and good, Birdie struggles with the decision to unequivocally accept him in her life. The Invention of Lying is a 2009 American speculative romantic comedy film written and directed by Ricky Gervais and Matthew Robinson, in their directorial debuts. The film stars Gervais as the first human with the ability to lie in a world where people can only tell the truth. The cast includes Jennifer Garner, Jonah Hill, Louis C.K., Rob Lowe, and Tina Fey. The film was released in the United States on October 2, 2009. Jerry Maguire is a 1996 American romantic comedy drama sports film written, produced, and directed by Cameron Crowe, and stars Tom Cruise, Cuba Gooding Jr., Renee Zellweger, and Regina King. Produced in part by longtime Simpsons producer James L. Brooks, it was inspired by sports agent Lee Steinberg, who acted as technical consultant on the crew. It was released in North American theaters on December 13, 1996, produced by Gracie Films and distributed by TriStar Pictures. Jersey Girl is a 2004 American comedy drama film written, co-edited and directed by Kevin Smith. It stars Ben Affleck, Liv Tyler, George Carlin, Stephen Root, Mike Starr, and Raquel Castro. The film follows a young man who must take care of his precocious daughter in the midst of a family tragedy. Julie and Julia is a 2009 American comedy drama film written and directed by Nora Ephron starring Meryl Streep, Amy Adams, Stanley Tucci, and Chris Messina. The film contrasts the life of Chef Julia Child in the early years of her culinary career with the life of young New Yorker Julie Powell, who aspires to cook all 524 recipes in Child's cookbook in 365 days, a challenge she described on her popular blog that made her a published author. The King's Speech is a 2010 historical drama film directed by Tom Hooper and written by David Seidler. Colin Firth plays the future King George VI who, to cope with a stammer, sees Lionel Logue, an Australian speech and language therapist played by Geoffrey Rush. The men become friends as they work together, and after his brother abdicates the throne, the new king relies on Logue to help him make his first wartime radio broadcast upon Britain's declaration of war on Germany in 1939. The Land Before Time is an American franchise of animated adventure films by Universal Pictures centered on dinosaurs. The series began in 1988 with the eponymous The Land Before Time, directed and produced by Don Bluth and executive produced by George Lucas and Steven Spielberg. It was followed by 13 direct-to-video musical sequels plus a TV series, video games, soundtracks and related merchandising. Neither the sequels nor the series involved the participation of Bluth, Lucas, or Spielberg. All 14 films were released in a complete collection DVD set on June 14, 2016. Love Actually is a 2003 Christmas-themed romantic comedy film written and directed by Richard Curtis. It features an ensemble cast, composed predominantly of British actors, many of whom had worked with Curtis in previous film and television projects. Mostly filmed on location in London, the screenplay delves into different aspects of love as shown through 10 separate stories involving a wide variety of individuals, many of whom are shown to be interlinked as the tales progress. The story begins 5 weeks before Christmas and is played out in a weekly countdown until the holiday, followed by an epilogue that takes place 1 month later. Mary Poppins Returns is a 2018 American musical fantasy film directed by Rob Marshall, with a screenplay written by David McGee and a story by McGee, Marshall, and John DeLuca. Loosely based on the book series Mary Poppins by P.L. Travers, the film is a sequel to the 1964 film Mary Poppins, and stars Emily Blunt as Mary Poppins, with Lin-Manuel Miranda, Ben Whishaw, Emily Mortimer, Julie Walters, Dick Van Dyke, Angela Lansbury, Colin Firth, and Meryl Streep in supporting roles. Set in 1930s London, 25 years after the events of the original film, the film sees Mary Poppins, the former nanny of Jane and Michael Banks, returning 1 year after a family tragedy. Miracle is a 2004 American sports film about the United States men's ice hockey team, led by head coach Herb Brooks, portrayed by Kurt Russell, that won the gold medal in the 1980 Winter Olympics. The American team's victory over the heavily favored Soviet professionals in the medal round was dubbed the Miracle on Ice. Miracle was directed by Gavin O'Connor and written by Eric Guggenheim and Mike Ridge. It was released on February 6, 2004, where it grossed $64.5 million on a $28 million budget and received positive reviews, with Russell's performance garnering the most praise from critics. Mr. Hollands Opus is a 1995 American drama film directed by Stephen Herrick, produced by Ted Field, Robert W. Court, and Michael Nolan, and written by Patrick Sheen Duncan. The film stars Richard Dreyfuss in the title role of Glenn Holland, a high school music teacher who aspires to write his own composition while struggling with a lack of quality time with his wife and profoundly deaf son. The cast also includes Glenn Headley, Olympia Dukakis, William H. Macy, and Jay Thomas. Mrs. Doubtfire is a 1993 American comedy-drama film directed by Chris Columbus. It was written for the screen by Randy Meyersinger and Leslie Dixon, based on the 1987 novel Alias Madame Doubtfire by Anne Fine. Robin Williams, who also served as a co-producer, stars with Sally Field, Pierce Brosnan, Harvey Fierstein, and Robert Prosky. It follows a recently divorced actor who dresses up as a female housekeeper to be able to interact with his children. The film addresses themes of divorce, separation, and the effect they have on a family. Punch Drunk Love is a 2002 American black comedy romance film written and directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, and starring Adam Sandler, Emily Watson, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Luis Guzman, and Mary Lynn Rajskub. Sandler plays an entrepreneur with severe social anxiety who is set up on a date with his sister's co-worker. The two immediately fall in love, but he is forced to defend his new love interest and himself from extortionists. The Pursuit of Happiness is a 2006 American biographical drama film directed by Gabrielle Mucchio and starring Will Smith as Chris Gardner, a homeless salesman. Smith's son Jaden Smith co-stars, making his film debut as Gardner's son, Christopher Jr. The screenplay by Stephen Conrad is based on the best-selling 2006 memoir of the same name written by Gardner with Quincy Troupe. It is based on Gardner's nearly one-year struggle being homeless. The unusual spelling of the film's title comes from a mural that Gardner sees on the wall outside the daycare facility his son attends. The Prince of Egypt is a 1998 American animated musical drama film produced by DreamWorks Animation and released by DreamWorks Pictures. It is the first DreamWorks feature to be traditionally animated. The film is an adaptation of the Book of Exodus and follows the life of Moses from being a prince of Egypt to his ultimate destiny to lead the children of Israel out of Egypt. Directed by Brenda Chapman, Steve Hickner, and Simon Wells, the film features songs written by Stephen Schwartz and a score composed by Hans Zimmer. The voice cast consists of Val Kilmer in a dual role, Ray Fiennes, Michelle Pfeiffer, Sandra Bullock, Jeff Goldblum, Danny Glover, Patrick Stewart, Helen Mirren, Steve Martin, and Martin Short. Silver Linings Playbook is a 2012 American romantic comedy drama film written and directed by David O. Russell. It was based on Matthew Quick's 2008 novel The Silver Linings Playbook. The film stars Bradley Cooper and Jennifer Lawrence, with Robert De Niro, Jackie Weaver, Chris Tucker, Anu Pankar, and Julia Stiles in supporting roles. Cooper plays Patrizio Pat Soldano Jr., a man with bipolar disorder who is released from a psychiatric hospital and moves back in with his parents, played by Robert De Niro and Jackie Weaver. Determined to win back his estranged wife, Pat meets a young widow, Tiffany Maxwell, portrayed by Jennifer Lawrence, who offers to help him get his wife back if he enters a dance competition with her. The two become closer as they train and Pat, his father, and Tiffany examine their relationships with each other as they cope with their problems. The Soloist is a 2009 drama film directed by Joe Wright, and starring Jamie Foxx and Robert Downey Jr. The film is based on the true story of Nathaniel Ayers, a musician who developed schizophrenia and became homeless. The screenplay by Susanna Grant is based on the book, The Soloist by Steve Lopez. Downey, a Los Angeles Times columnist, discovers and writes about Ayers. Foxx, a cello prodigy who, after developing schizophrenia, now lives on the streets. Space Jam is a 1996 American live-action/animated sports comedy film directed by Joe Pytka and starring basketball player Michael Jordan. The film presents a fictionalized account of what happened between Jordan's initial retirement from the NBA in 1993 and his 1995 comeback, in which he is enlisted by the Looney Tunes to help them win a basketball match against a group of aliens who intend to enslave them as attractions for their theme park. Wayne Knight, Teresa Randall, and Bill Murray appear in supporting roles, while Billy West, D. Bradley Baker, and Danny DeVito headline the voice cast. Strictly Ballroom is a 1992 Australian romantic comedy film directed and co-written by Baz Luhrmann. The film, Luhrmann's feature directorial debut, is the first in his Red Curtain trilogy of theater motif-related films. It was followed by Romeo plus Juliet and Moulin Rouge. Strictly Ballroom is based on a critically acclaimed stage play originally set up in 1984 by Luhrmann and fellow students while he was studying at the National Institute of Dramatic Arts in Sydney. Temple Grandin is a 2010 American biographical drama film directed by Mick Jackson and starring Claire Danes as Temple Grandin, an autistic woman whose innovations revolutionized practices for the humane handling of livestock on cattle ranches and slaughterhouses. The film won several awards including 5 Primetime Emmy Awards, and Golden Globe and Screen Actors Guild prizes for Danes. Warrior is a 2011 American sports drama film directed by Gavin O'Connor and written by O'Connor, Cliff Dorfman, and Anthony Tambakis. It stars Tom Hardy and Joel Edgerton as two estranged brothers whose entrance into a mixed martial arts tournament makes them come to terms with their lives and each other, and Nick Nolte as their alcoholic father. Jennifer Morrison and Frank Grillo also star.